Hey guys, Brian Davis here, co-founder of Spark Rental. I am so glad to be with you, and I am joined today by Matt Faircloth, who is the founder of the DeRosa Group, which is one of the most well-established and reputable real estate private equity syndicators out there. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
I just got promoted. I'm one of the most. I love it. I was the third most a second ago, but now I just took two people. And I'm kidding. Listen, that's very kind words. Thank you. And I am grateful that we're viewed as a company with integrity and a company that, transparency and integrity are two of our core mantras. And sometimes that means difficult conversations. Sometimes that means telling investors this wacky thing called the truth. And that's what we do. So I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Yeah, no, I mean, transparency is really the name of the game when you're working with people's money, right?
Mhm.
And you're
Should
investing in
be.
assets that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. So it's something that's really important to my partner Denny and me. And from everything that I've learned about you and DeRosa Group, it seems that it's a core value for you guys too. So
It is.
glad to have you with us today.
Yeah. Glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I love to start at the very beginning because you didn't always own a real estate empire with millions and millions of dollars worth of commercial properties. So,
No.
yeah, let's rewind the clock to maybe closer to where some of our listeners are currently, right? Where you didn't have any properties, you wanted to get into real estate. So, tell us about how you got started in real estate investing.
Sure. I was a traveling sales rep, working for a company called Ingersoll Rand, and met this lovely young Italian girl named Liz Randazzi when she was finishing up at University of Pennsylvania. And she put this little purple book in my hand called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I
There
was
you
like,
go.
"Huh, this book." And before you know it, I was hooked, and I was going to RIA meetings with her. Those were like our date night, right? Some folks go out for like a nice meal. Me and my girlfriend were going to RIA meetings, right? And so we started doing that and playing the cash flow board game with local friends, and get like a 12-pack of beer and bring cash flow at. That's what we did in our mid-20s. We were real estate dorks, right? So fast forward to me needing to move, because me and my drinking buddies living in our little house in Manayunk, just outside of Philadelphia, living there. Like, the landlord's like, "Hey, you don't got a home, but go home, but you can't stay here." So we're like, "Okay, great. Where we're gonna go?" I Rich Dad Poor Dad, like, I should own real estate. This book says that, so I will own real estate. And so I went and bought a little 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse on low money down, FHA financed mortgage. And my mortgage was $940 a month. And my two drinking buddy friends moved in with me, each of them paying me $500 a month. And
There you
so
go.
but I wasn't trying to structure it that way. That's just what they paid to the landlord at the other property. So I'm like, "Hey, I'll just let you pay me what we paid the landlord." And so we moved it. We just moved things over to me being the landlord. And before you know it, Brian, I was living there for free, and and still had a good job working for Ingersoll Rand. Right, 2 years, paid off all my student loans, paid off all my credit card debt. Got myself completely bad debt free, and Liz and I were hooked and off to the races from there. And so when we got married, because of course, if a woman ever puts Rich Dad Poor Dad in your hand, propose right there, So we got married, and I yet again married up. Right, she convinced me that it would be a good idea for me to quit my good paying job at Ingersoll Rand and live off of her salary. And so that's what we did. And so we lived off her salary, where I built the DeRosa Group, our company. DeRosa is her mother's maiden name. And it's just
Okay.
like a shout back to family. We've named a lot of things after family in our business as we built. Just, it's a good, like, homage, let's say, right? It's got to
Yeah.
have a name, so why not give it a cool family one, right? So that is our origin story, if you will. And we smacked our head up against a lot of walls, Brian, right after I quit in 2005. The world fell apart with the financial crisis, and we had to figure that out, and scaled up and up and up and up, and walked 3 steps forward, took a step back, 3 steps forward, took a step back, and now we control thousands of units of multifamily in 4 states.
Well, house hacked my first home that I lived in with a roommate.
It's everyone's it's everyone's first investment should be a house hack.
It's
Anybody
great.
listening to Brian's show right now, if you're paying a landlord money for rent, you should be the landlord. Start there. Like, be your own landlord, and have other people, and be other people's landlord too. Like, that's a great way to get started. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's common.
And I too lost my shirt in the financial crisis in 2008. But so let's rewind a little bit here, because we glossed over quite a stretch from, owning your first property, having a couple buddies as tenants, to being a a multimillionaire real estate syndicator. So how did you buy your next property? How did you scale up from that very first house hack deal that you did? Tell me about your second, your third, your fourth property, and how you scaled that up, because that transition is tricky for a lot of new investors.
Yes. So this is, Brian, back in the day when they were just slinging money out at the door to get. I mean, you could walk into closing to buy real estate with nothing but a pen and a smile, like no
I
check, no
remember.
nothing. I mean, maybe a heartbeat. That was it. Like, you could get, like, you remember second mortgages. You get like it's not common anymore, but you could get second mortgages on non-owner occupied stuff, 103% financing on properties. So I get it. Now you got to use the technology that's in my book on raising capital and get people that are in your network to come on board with you as private lenders, and do the Burr strategy, and private equity, raise equity from your local network and that. But raising private capital tells you to do that. We actually did that in a way on our first rental. Liz and I bought a duplex while we're dating, believe it or not, Brian.
Oh,
So
wow.
not that I condone buying rental properties with your girlfriend before you
No.
get married, but it worked out, so we bought this duplex, and we borrowed $30K from her dad. So we did raise
Okay.
capital, and that. So her dad gave us, like, which was a lot to us and a lot to him, but he believed in us, and we had shown him that it was all going to work out, and we showed him the numbers and on the equations and how it was going to work out for him. So that $30K was our down money and our renovation money for a duplex, just 2 towns over from where I lived, and we used the $30K to renovate, and it wasn't much, low to no money down days, right? So held that property while we were dating, then sold it right after we got married, and did a 1031 exchange, Brian, to sell that duplex, and sold it to trade up into 2 4-families. We're close to, we moved to New Jersey when we got married. So we bought 2 4-families right around the corner from where we live there. And that was our, like, leg up multifamily property, and did a few other deals with our own cash. Had my parents come in as a small passive investor with us, so we did, like, the friends and family game in the very beginning, in that, because they had some cash, not billions of dollars, like, little bit of money to help us get going. And then we would trade up, we would do a flip and roll that money into another deal, and just kind of, like, again, one foot in front of the other, and scrapped our way up and up and up into larger and larger deals, and just kind of grew a little bit as we went, until post crash. We were about 30 units at the time, and post crash happens. Liz went to Penn, and she was reconnecting with one of her friends from Penn, saying, hey, really, I'm doing this consulting gig. My husband's involved in real estate investing. And this friend of hers from Penn says the magic words, which is real estate investing. That sounds interesting. I sure wish I could do that too, but I just don't have the time. Right. And that was, like, the magic words. And she like heard that, and she says, you should talk to my husband. And so it turns out, Brian, this guy is a stockbroker in New York City. Right. So working 80 hours a week, and making a lot of money, but having no time to make any type of other passive investments. Very demanding job. And so I go up and meet with him, and he agrees, like, okay, you go find a deal. And the world had just fallen apart. So it's very hard to get financing, or very hard to do anything. There's a lot of short sales where people owed like 150K, but the bank was trying to sell it for, we bought two townhomes for 25K a piece with his 50K.
Oh, wow.
But then I had to fix them up, and there's more money that came in, and then in construction dollars and whatnot through debt. So we borrowed some money to fix them up, but his equity came in. and we rented them out. And so before you know it, Brian, he starts telling his buddies, his New York City buddies, and his New York City clients about me. And, 50K from that deal turned into 100K from two of his clients in the next deal. And then it turned into 300K from a few of my friends and one of his friends. And before you knew it, we were forming these small little syndication companies and taking down larger and larger projects in Trenton, New Jersey. That's where we first got started. So fast forward, that's like the phase 2 story. And then phase 3 was we grew out of Trenton and got ourselves into larger and larger markets like Philadelphia, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and eventually North Carolina.
Yeah, that story of snowballing your real estate investments is one that I've heard time and time again, and was the same case for myself. You start with some lower end properties. Maybe you do a couple of flips to help keep you capitalized, and you keep some as rentals, and you do some BRRRR deals to again keep yourself capitalized, keep recycling the same down payment over and over again. So yeah, and all the while, ideally scaling up to larger and larger deals with larger and larger returns. So no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And getting more and more complex at the time, but just also being careful not to like overstep our cadence, meaning like being okay buying a 10 unit, even though it'd be really a lot sexier and a lot funner to buy 100 unit, understanding I'm not qualified for that yet. And so I'm going to buy this 10 unit or this 18 unit. And those are real numbers of real deals that we did. Bought a 10 unit, then like a while later bought an 18 unit, figured that out. School of Hard Knocks, figured it out, got mastered it. Okay, let's stretch to a 49 unit, and then went from there, right?
Right. Yeah. It's that age-old balance of knowing your limitations, even as you push the boundaries and try to expand those limitations.
Yeah.
So which ties into my next question for you actually is, what hasn't gone according to plan? What are some of those expensive mistakes that you made, that other people can ideally learn from, and, learn those lessons the easy way, whereas you had to learn them the hard way.
Man, how long is your show? Because I might need to come back again and just like Matt talks about Brian. I'm like, where's the tissue box? I might start crying. No. Brian, the recurring mistake that I made until I learned not to make it anymore was getting outside of my skill set, right? And okay, remember I talked about I did the 1031 exchange into the 4 units, 4 families in Jersey, right? Problem there is I'm not the greatest underwriter in the world. I'm a great deal assembler and a great negotiator and a good like people person, but I'm not the best analyst. And you don't have to be all these things in real estate, but real estate does require that somebody does all these things, whether it's you or not.
Right.
So for that deal, when I underwrote it, I completely underestimated how much maintenance they were going to need. Because they're older properties, right? So, this plumbing is galvanized pipe. This building is aged, and so a lot of the wiring is really old. So it's going to short out, and need to be replaced, and the plumbing's going to be replaced, whatever. So I totally underestimated the maintenance, Brian. And so I'm not saying that was that, and it's the underestimating maintenance was the mistake. The mistake was me doing something I should have been doing. I should have had either a friend or someone who knows that kind of real estate create a business plan and analysis for me, with me, partner up with me, whatever it was. And I assembled the capital, the business plan. I was really good at the time at property management. So dealing with tenants, being the people person, chummy with tenants, getting them to trust and like me and accept the terms of the landlord and everything like that. Those are things I was all good at doing. Not good at negotiating with tenants when they were behind on their rent, because I'm just too nice for that, Brian. And so when they told me they couldn't pay the rent that month, I would believe them. And so
I've been there.
So that it really just goes down to, and I could list out like a couple of dozen times where, because I was doing something that I'm not wired to be doing, is not my core genius, is not my skill set, that there likely was a failure. Another one, Brian, is dealing with contractors. There are some that are wired to do it, and there are some that are not wired to do it. I am not. And there's other people I know out there that I'm good friends with that can put a contractor in a headlock or have eating out of their hand like deer, right? I'm not either one of those. So anytime you get me managing a direct contractor, I likely will get, the deal's not going to go well if I have to deal with the contractor. You need somebody who's not nice to deal with the contractor, and I'm too nice for that.
Well, that goes to a point that Denny and I make all the time, that real estate investing is a team sport, right?
Yes.
You need it. You can't do everything by yourself. You're not good at everything by yourself.
The failure is trying to
So
do it yourself.
yeah, so it just underscores the importance of going out and finding partners who with complementary skill sets, right? Complementary strengths to your weaknesses and
And I
vice
have a
versa.
shameless plug, but it is free, Brian, is that we have a personality assessment at DeRosa Group. It's again, not a plug. It's just, hey, it's a free assessment we came up because we saw the world as needing it. And so people want to take our personality assessment. It's on our website at DeRosaGroup.com/superpower. And because if you watch me on video, you can see I'm a superhero guy. So take our superpower assessment on our website, because I want to help people figure out what they're great at. The sooner you figure out what you're great at, the more you can drill into just that and leave everything else as hire it out, give it up, partner up, one of those things,
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And we will certainly link to that assessment in the show notes here.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I want to be respectful of your time here, but I would love to hear any of your best tips, like your 3 most important tips for either aspiring or novice or even intermediate real estate investors, people who are looking to scale up or maybe even buy their first property. What would you tell them to save them countless heartaches
Save them the 17 years of that they probably could collapse the 17 years of time that it took me to get to the point that I'm at in business, and maybe get it done in 3 to 5. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Number 1, I got 3, and you're not teeing me up. You didn't tell me it'd be 3, but I just so happen to have 3 tips that I think that I've learned the most out of this business, this talk.
Perfect.
Number 1, stay focused. Right. The mistake that I made at the beginning, Brian, I was like, I was chasing shiny nickels. One day I was looking at land deals. The next day I was looking at fix and flips. Next day I was looking at rental deals, whatever. Had I stayed focused, I mean, like, how many fix and flips do you think Sam Zell did? Right? None. He's an apartment building guy. That's his shtick, right? But so if you stay focused on a initiative and then scale up and build out in that initiative, you're not going to pick the wrong initiative. You're just going to become really good at it, and you're going to find the niche and the way to make money, wholesaling, flipping, buying rentals, subject to whatever it is. And who cares what the other people that you meet are doing? That's what they're doing. You're doing X, they're doing Y, and that's cool. So that's number 1, stay focused. Number 2, this business can be really rough. It can hit back really hard, and there's lots of zeros in this business. But I found that the success that I have today, I owe to my commitment that I would never quit. And believe me, Brian, it's very easy to quit sometimes. So you got to go picking your teeth up off the boxing ring floor. You're like, man, that really hurt, and that's so I mean, I've had money stolen from me, like 6 figures of money stolen from me multiple times, Brian. I've had deals that I worked on for a year fall apart. I've had partnerships bust. I've had all kinds of terrible, terrible things happen. I've had multiple fires and lawsuits and blah, 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 blah. But I was willing to just stay in the ring and work it out and just stay honest and stay, integrity there and figure it out. Right. So that's number 2, figure it out. It's to stay in the ring and don't quit. Right. And the third thing is keep momentum, because I think that life really abhors stagnancy. And so if you're just stopping and waiting for the market to crash, or stopping and waiting for rates to drop, or stopping and waiting for rents to do whatever, or for Detroit to come back around, or whatever it is you're waiting for another president, whatever you're waiting for, another thing's going to happen that you'll be waiting for as well. I met people at RIAs back in the day, Brian, that they were going to the same RIA for like 2 to 3 years and had not bought a rental property yet, because they're waiting on something, waiting on the market to change, waiting on prices to come back down, whatever. The motivated find a way to make it work. Yeah, things are maybe a little overpriced right now. It doesn't mean you got to just say screw it and buy overpriced properties. It means find a way to get in, find a way to make it work, wholesales, direct to owner, whatever it is. So if you can find a way to keep momentum going all the time, then you're going to be successful. If you wait for things that are out of your control to happen, you'll find yourself waiting all the time, because there's always something to wait for. And there's always ways to work around it if you choose to.
Well, I love it. Those are great pieces of advice. And Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to our real estate investment club doing a deal with you guys.
Yeah,
So
I love that. Cool. And I really appreciate
well,
what you do, quite a bit for all the, the non-accrediteds out there, and everything like that. I mean, it is my belief, and I can tell it's yours too, that everyone in the world should have access to non-Wall Street related investment opportunities. Nothing wrong with Wall Street, but the world should be like 31 flavors. We should have multiple flavors of ice cream available outside of Wall Street and available investments to all people. So I really commend you for helping operators like myself access all people that want to invest in real estate and deals.
Well, our kindred ice cream aficionados and who love the many flavors.
Yeah.
So,
it's my dream one day, Brian, and maybe we can do this together, is that my tenants that live in my apartment buildings can at some day buy equity in the apartment building they live in. What if they sent me $1,000 a month in rent and $100 in an equity check? And they could send their kid to college with that. It would change a lot of lives that way. Seed is planted.
Well, Matt, thank you again for joining us today. You and I are definitely on the same page on many levels here. So I really appreciate you coming on. And everyone, we will see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, the regular time. Reach out by email, support@sparkrental.com. We'd love to hear what you want to hear about so that we can give it to you. So on that note, we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.